Well, hey everyone, my name is Nathan Jones, and if you're new here, welcome. I like to talk about all things movies, specifically Blu-rays, and say hi to Bowie, who is just licking right now. He's just licking everything. He is my companion, who, if you are familiar with my last video, I introduced him, but right now, I am currently in my living room where I'm going to be filming most of the stuff that I'm going to be doing for the channel, mainly because I just don't trust him in the movie room because he's just a little puppy. Well, he has a lot of energy, so he may or may not be put down on the ground later on. Not put down, not physically. He's too young. He's just a little boy. He's innocent. And today I want to showcase with you some of the things that I've been watching. I was able to finish All the Haunts BRs Volume 2 box set, which I have my thoughts to kind of gather and share with you. And then I also am reading a few things right now. One of them is the book that comes with All the Haunts BRs, so we'll talk about that. And then I also watched a few other things. I watched Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me in theaters, which was amazing. And then also I got some 4Ks that I got that I recently picked up because you know what? Nothing beats sadness by buying something that you probably already have. But anyway, let's say goodbye to Bowie because he is definitely got a lot of energy right now. But anyway, today let's talk about first the things that I bought, right? Let's talk about some of the things that I got just to upgrade, honestly. And I've known these were out on 4K for some time now, and I've been meaning to upgrade my own copies because I love these movies. And I'm talking about Quentin Tarantino's films. I'm talking about Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 and Jackie Brown. So let's first talk about Jackie Brown. Let's talk about Jackie Brown. So right here is the 4K. I'm really excited to have this. I've actually only watched this movie once. It's one of the Quentin Tarantino movies I haven't seen enough of. Mainly, like I said, just seen it once. But I know what I remember loving this movie and being kind of blown away by obviously the cast and just like the situation that Jackie Brown is involved in right here with Pam Grier, of course. But yeah, I am just so ecstatic to rewatch this on 4K. I've actually heard really good things about this release, especially when it comes to the transfer. So if you are interested in getting a new copy, I've heard Jackie Brown is definitely, do yourself a favor and do that. Now, the other two films were actually my introduction to Tarantino all those years ago, back in the early 2000s, and I'm talking about Kill Bill Volume 1 and Kill Bill Volume 2. And these movies right here have a really special place in my heart. These are two of my favorite Tarantino films, and then also just in general films, I would say, of all time. And I need to probably reimagine my top 100 list because I think Kill Bill Volume 1 in particular would definitely make that list, that cut. But I'm really ecstatic to just have these on 4K again. I have the old steelbooks on Blu-ray, and I'm going to keep those. But I'm just really stoked to have more Tarantino on 4K. I have quite a bit that I don't have on 4K from him, maybe less than half. But I would love to get Hateful Eight on 4K. That's actually one of my favorite films of his. But I love Kill Bill and Uma Thurman and the killing of Bill and Buck and everyone in there, and Lucy Liu, who's fantastic in Kill Bill Volume 1. But anyway, I digress. And then the last thing that I got was something I got on Amazon. I just noticed it was on sale, and I just wanted to start watching cartoons again. And I've been watching a little bit of Rick and Morty, which I kind of did not watch for the longest time because the fan base really kind of annoyed me, and also Justin Roiland, not a good person. But the first few seasons I did enjoy quite some years ago, and so I've been watching some of that, but it got me to think a little bit more about some of the things that I want to watch, and I actually got the Scooby-Doo, the almost complete collection Scooby-Doo movies, the new Scooby-Doo movies, which has the Harlem Globetrotters, Dick Van Dyke, Three Stooges, Cass Elliot, Don Knotts, etc., Sonny and Cher. These are all, the special guest movies that they would have different actors come in and just do this cool little thing, and maybe have like a movie TV show of sorts. But I'm really excited for this. I love the original mysteries. That's like my bread and butter of Scooby-Doo. Also, dogs are on my mind right now. You can probably hear him clittering and clattering as he's exploring right now. But yeah, I wanted to get this and start watching more Scooby-Doo in my life and just have a good time, even if not everything in here is amazing. Now let's kind of shift gears here for a little bit and talk about some books. Now, there are some books that I'm reading right now. One that I kind of have on hold for a second, but I'm going to get back into it here shortly, because I like to sometimes read a little bit between fiction and nonfiction and kind of go back and forth between that. And right now I've been reading a lot of nonfiction, so a lot of just reality, because of the book that I'll talk about here in a second. But right now, in fiction, I have been reading Michael Crichton's Timeline, which I'm not too far in. As you can tell, it's literally like 50 pages. Yeah, 46. So I need to jump back into this. This is something that I kind of put on hold for quite some time. If you remember some weeks back, I had been reading this, but I kind of put it on hold. So I need to jump back into this and eventually watch that movie again too. But besides that, I also have a nonfiction book that I've been reading that has actually been super helpful lately, because my life has kind of just been a roller coaster, and I'm just reevaluating some relationships in my life, and then also just reevaluating myself in those relationships, whether those are friendships, romantic relationships, whatever it is. A lot of this has to do with this book right here, the Let Them book right here, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. I know she has a podcast, and I know she's pretty famous, and has talked a lot about these various things. But for me, it's just really, really helpful. It's a little self-helpy, but at the same time, like, I'm reading a chapter a day, and it's just kind of centering myself back into a headspace where I'm being more content with the things that I like to do and the things that I like to enjoy, which is quite a nice thing to do, especially when, like I said, life has been kind of up and down. And so, yeah, this has been really, really helpful for me, just centering myself and focusing back on books, on music, and movies, my trifecta of things that I love the most. And now I have Bowie in my life, and so I have a dog to add to that as well. And then the other book I will talk about here in a bit, with the All the Haunts Ours Volume 2 box set, which I will cover. But first, let's talk a little bit about some of the other movies that I watched over the last couple of days in this last week. One is right here that I actually watched on streaming, but I have this actually, and I was just lazy, and I'm like, I'm just going to watch this now. But I actually have Villains right here, which came out a couple years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, I want to say. Let's see, 2019, yes, so 6 years ago. But this movie right here, this is the Gunpowder and Sky edition right here that I got from Vinegar Syndrome. This is one of their partner labels. There is the film itself, but I love this cast. It's got Bill Skarsgård, who's It, Nosferatu. You also have Micah Monroe, who was just recently in Longlegs, and also just several other amazing horror films. Blake Baumgartner, Jeffrey Donovan, and Kyra Sedgwick. Just a really fun kind of home invasion film that goes awry, and I won't really spoil much of it, but it's in the name, Villains. I'll just give it at that. And so this is quite a treat, and it's on streaming right now, so definitely do yourself a favor. This is definitely like a 3.5 out of 5. This is a movie that just, like flies by, but you're having fun with the absurdity of this concept that's happening right now. All right, so before we jump into the All the Haunts Ours Volume 2 box set, I want to talk about retreading waters on one of the best horror films of all time. That is Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me. Now, I was able to catch this at the Alamo Drafthouse here. They're doing like a David Lynch month, and I actually only got tickets to this, which I need to probably go and get more tickets to other things. Now, Twin Peaks, if you're not familiar with my own journey, I have recently watched this entire series, and I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with the concept, and I kind of, at the very early stages of me doing this film journey of mine, I actually had just got back from the UK, and I just had started my Twin Peaks journey. So this is very fresh on my mind still. And I was able, with the passing of David Lynch, obviously going to the Alamo Drafthouse, having this month dedicated to him is really special, and I think it's really unique. And I think if there's an Alamo Drafthouse near you and they're doing some of these David Lynch films, go watch them, because they are amazing. And Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me, one of the best horror films I've ever seen. And the context going into this movie, and you need to watch the first 2 seasons. The person I watched it with, he had not seen any of it. He had seen Blue Velvet because he was able to watch it at the Alamo Drafthouse as well. He loved that film, and going into this, I'm like, you're going to have a lot of questions probably, and there's going to be a lot of uncertainty, and there's going to be some really funny things going on, but there's actually really horrific things going on in the background. and you know, this is all about Laura Palmer and the day that leads up to her eventual death. And it's not a spoiler, because if you've watched the first season, that's the opening episode, is trying to figure out what happened to Laura Palmer and all the mystery that surrounds it in Twin Peaks and outside that, in that area. And there's so many other little Easter eggs, and the more and more I watch it, the more and more I get those little Easter eggs, and I'm starting to get pieces here together. But man, oh man, I adore this movie, and it gave me nightmares. I didn't sleep very well. So yeah, watching it at Alamo Drafthouse was really fun. This is a 5 out of 5 type of film, and everyone should watch this movie, but you need to watch the show first. So if you haven't seen Twin Peaks, if you're a fan of Severance, watch Twin Peaks, watch the whole series, and then watch Fire Walk with Me, and then watch The Return. That's the order. But anyway, I love this movie. So happy I was able to watch it at the Alamo Drafthouse, 5 out of 5. And finally, I want to talk about the All the Haunts Be Ours Volume 2 box set from Severin. This came out last year and was my favorite box set of the year. And I can finally say that I finally finished all of the films in this set. So I was able to watch the last 4 discs I think I had left, and man oh man, what a treat this box set is. This, if anyone's not familiar, needs to watch the documentary from Kayla Janice, The Woodlands, Darks, and Days Bewitched, which covers kind of the trajectory of what this entire project is all about. It's about making folk horror visible to, I guess, Western audiences, like our, you know, here in the States or in the UK, in Europe, but also understanding like just the world of folk horror and the different varieties and different cultures that have folk horror in it. And in fact, this box set is volume 2. Like I said, a couple years ago, volume 1 came out and had 13 discs as well, and had quite a bit of films in there, kind of subjecting, you know, this idea of folk horror and these different areas and different cultures. But this one in particular has 24 folk horror classics of 24 films in here. It has a book, which I'll cover here in a bit. I'm actually in the middle of reading that. And then 55 combined hours of special features, which I will admit that I have not watched all the special features on all these discs. A lot of them are commentaries, and I'm really bad at commentaries. I need to start doing a little bit better about that. But regardless, there are a lot of really great special features, kind of just covering the gamut of the different cultures, like Kayla Janice, who I had mentioned earlier, making that documentary, Woodland Darks and Days Bewitched. She actually tapped a lot of people in these different communities, Thailand, the Philippines, Canada, the States, the UK, Italy, I think Turkey as well. There's so many different things going on in this box set that it's a treat if anyone loves this particular genre, right? The subgenre of horror, if you will. And let me just open this up real quick. I'm actually not going to get too in depth with the movies, mainly because it was kind of, I watched a lot of them all pretty close together, so I'm still gathering a lot of my thoughts on them, and a lot of these things, in particular, the visuals of these movies are the treat, right? Especially if you like really trippy, really weird, psychedelic kind of horror, or horror that definitely plays with the mind, some psychological stuff here. But here is the box set itself. I've covered over the last, weeks and weeks, this box set when this came out. I was so over the moon for it. I was able to watch them all finally. It's wild to me to think, going back to disc 1, which has To Fire You Come At Last and Psychomania, all those months ago when I started this journey, going all the way throughout this to disc 2, which has The Enchanted and Who Fears the Devil, or The Legend of Hillbilly John, which is the one that I prefer. The White Reindeer, a classic Finnish film. Edge of the Knife, we also have Born of Fire, which is the Turkish film. We also have Io Island and Scales, so some Korean, Japanese, Bakaneko and Nongnak, which I think is Thailand. We also have Sunda Balong and Susanna, the Queen of Black Magic, which is the documentary that David Gregory put for this box set in particular, talking about Susanna and her just iconic role. And then also we have Demon, which is a kind of a Jewish discussion about it. November, which is another great film. And then we have Latan and Blood, Tea, and Red String, which is a really cool stop motion animation film. that I really love. It's one of my favorites. And then we get to the discs that I have not really covered too much, but disc 11 has Nazareno Cruz and the Wolf and Aquelarre. Aquelarre is the one that I prefer out of these films. Nazareno Cruz, that is a trippy movie, and I needed to be in a different headspace to watch this. But Aquelarre, I really enjoyed, and definitely recommend people at least look into those. Next, we have From the Old Earth, which is a Welsh film, and this actually has a really cool kind of, I guess, special features, kind of just talking about the Welsh film board and like the restoration and all the people who were involved in this. And it was almost like watching a ghost story for Christmas from the BBC, one of those kind of stories. Robin Redbreast. It's definitely set in the UK, but it's very Welsh, right? And it involves this head, which one of the special features actually gets out the head. He's like, it's been sitting in a window, collecting dust for some time, and I kind of chuckled at that. But this is a really cool disc right here, and of a language and of a culture that is kind of dwindling day by day. So it's really cool to see that. And then finally, disc 13, which has City of the Dead and The Rites of May. City of the Dead has a Christopher Lee feature in it. It's really good. Definitely reminds me of a classic Gothic film from the early 60s, kind of transitory time where things would eventually get into Amicus films and Hammer films. At that moment, I believe they said in the special features that this is like a pre-Amicus. But I could be wrong on that, but it was really good. I quite enjoyed it. It reminded me of The Night of the Eagle, which I also really enjoy of around that time period as well. Talking about witchcraft, of course. What's folklore without witchcraft? And then we have The Rites of May, which is the last film in here, and I really enjoyed this movie as well. Kind of looking at the traditional ghost story in a context that I have not seen before. But yeah, right now, I can say I am over the moon by this box set. Like I said, you had to pretty much be in love with folk horror to enjoy this entire thing. Besides this, the movies themselves and the special features, there's also a 252-page book, which I actually got months and months ago, actually in advance. So I didn't know that this would actually come with the box set. I don't know why in my head, so I ordered two. So I have two of these books. But regardless, I have been reading this. In fact, I have read the first, I think, 5 stories, and I am enamored by this stuff. Kayla Janice does just a one-page introduction, kind of talking about the project itself, and also just like what this compendium has in it, and like why they have some short stories. Because folk horror, a lot of it's oral and a lot of it is written down. And so this new medium of film is quite interesting, because you're seeing these different, these folk horror legends kind of take place on, it's kind of been passed on in different traditions, but these are some original writings from different authors kind of contributing to a project like this, and having some cool concepts, which hopefully maybe one day will become classics themselves. So let's talk about the first few stories that I read. The first one is Every Second Saturday, See Island Silencers Meet in Secret by Eden Royce, which was a really cool kind of coven of witches getting a new member, and just a slice of that life and what that looks like, that initiation, and it's quite cool. Then we have Apple Annie's Fancy by Kim Newman, who is really famous, and is one of the biggest names in physical media, of course, because he is constantly on so many great releases. He kind of talks about children's nursery rhymes and how deadly they are, and this one in particular, it's like almost like a history of those kind of songs, but kind of a narrative context, barely. And then there's also I Can Hear You by Cynthia Paleo, which is a pretty scary story that is actually probably the scariest one that I read, about a person who is obsessed with a voice, and I'll just leave it at that. And then we also have We Are Phil, which is by Sarah Gailey, and this is a story about Puxatawny Phil, the Groundhog Day Phil, but in a very, very, I guess, anthropomorphic kind of way. The way it's written is really, really cool. It's the longest thing that I've read so far in this, but I really enjoyed it, kind of coming from Phil's perspective and like looking at humans and as these other creatures, looking at I as like, what am I as like Phil, this groundhog, but what are we as a collective? There's probably some layers in there, but man, oh man, am I having a good time with this. I will report back with this particular book and talk more about, you know, as I finish this particular box set, you know, kind of delve deeper into my thoughts. But like I said, I'm being a little brief, mainly because they've kind of all little blended in a little bit together. I probably watched them all too closely, but man, oh man, this box set is amazing. Yeah, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed my little breakdown of what I've been watching, what I've been picking up, what I've been reading. I would love to know in the comment section down below what you've been doing for the last week or the last month. You know, we're starting to approach March, and so hopefully people are going outside, touching grass, if you will, or, you know, maybe not getting out of the Groundhog Day kind of mentality. Too many puns. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. I'm not jonesing around.